Hey, welcome back to another lick of the week, and we've been working on some bluesy ideas based on Scruggs style picking, using the three basic chord shapes to find the blues scale notes and come up with ideas. Some of the notes relate to licks that you're really familiar with, standard Scruggs ideas that are really prevalent in traditional bluegrass banjo, and some of the ideas maybe you'll have to experiment with on your own, come up with your own ideas, but that's great. And that's what we want. So we've worked on the number 1 shape, the number 2 shape. We've studied a couple of licks. Now I want to move, the 3 shape, the bar chord. Now let's move to the number 2 shape, which is also referred to as the D shape. Now unfortunately there are not a lot of dedicated Scruggs style licks that resolve to this shape or work out of this shape. But there are some cool ideas that you can play around with. What we need to do first is understand the blues scale notes as they relate to this shape. So just as we did with the number 1 shape, I want to relate some of these blues scale notes for the 2 shape, so that if you hear a player come up with a lick that you think is cool and is bluesy, you'll be able to figure out by his hand position that he's playing a modified number 2 shape. And then if you practice these blues scale notes in relation to that shape, you'll be able to figure out pretty quickly what that player is doing to achieve that sound. So that's what we're trying to do here with this video. So let's start with the open 3rd string, since this is G for the example. G, here's A, 4th string, 7th fret, B, 7th fret, C is the, that was previously the 9th fret, 10th fret is C, jump to the 3rd string for D at 7, E is on the 9th fret, 3rd string. Here's your F sharp, 7th fret of the 2nd string. Here's back to G, 8th fret of the 2nd string. And if you want to continue up the next octave, here's A, here's B, C, and then you'd have to leave the shape entirely to continue the scale. So here's the basic scale. That sounds like a single string scale, which it is, but what we need to do is relate these notes to rolling patterns. And so when you play a G chord, obviously you're playing some of the notes of the G scale anyway when you play these rolls, whatever roll you decide to play. But now let's dissect that a little closer, and let's find out where the blues scale notes are in relation to this shape. So we know the flatted 3rd will be B flat. Okay, that's going to be here at the 8th fret of the 4th string. Alright, we're looking for a flatted 5th, which would be D flat. That would be here. We're looking for an F note, which is the F sharp being flatted. Here's F at the 2nd string, 7. So the blues scale notes that we need, the flatted 3rd, the flatted 5th, and the flatted 7th, here they are in relation to this chord shape. Here's a B flat on the 4th string at 8. The 6th fret of the 3rd string is our flatted 3rd, D flat. Here's F, which is flatted from F sharp, and it's at the 2nd string, 7th fret. B flat, D flat, F. Alright, now there are a couple other places to find these notes, but I'm trying to stay as close to the shape as I can. Here's an alternate place to play this F note. 3rd string at 10 is the same as the 2nd string at 6. They're both F notes, same octave range. So if you decided you wanted to play that note, that position for F, that would be good. So what you need to do to play blues scale licks out of this position in Scruggs style is find some roll patterns that work and try to use some rolling patterns that fit that. Now I'm not going to play any licks for you, because what I want you to do is experiment with these positions. And if you hear a player playing blues scale notes and you notice their location is very similar to what we would talk about in this video, then you'll know that they're using the number 2 chord shape kind of as the frame of reference. I'll give you one idea. I'm going to take the Sally Gooden position, which is just major scale. Here's G, here's B. And this is also known as the Sally Gooden or the Cumberland Gap position. what you hear a lot of common licks out of. But let's make this bluesy and apply, say, a Scruggsy roll pattern. I'm going to use my pinky to find a blues scale note. Here's that F that I just mentioned a few seconds ago. The third string at 10 is an F note, which is that blues scale. There's the flatted 7th. Now I'm just going to play a roll pattern. You can make up any roll pattern you want that includes these tones. So you just about have a complete G7 chord, but really I'm just trying to relate this as some scale notes with an added blues scale note. So there's one idea that you can experiment with, but I hope you'll just search around and try to find your own licks out of these blues scale notes relating to this chord shape. And then if you do hear some cool licks from other players, look at their hand position. You'll be able to dissect what they're doing a lot quicker than you normally would, because you'll understand what they're doing to get that sound. Now, this is probably one of the most prevalent licks up the neck, and it's a choke lick. And remember, chokes are basically blues techniques borrowed from guitar that allow you to stretch a string from a non-blues scale note, usually up to a blues scale note. It doesn't always have to be a bluesy bend, but most of the time it is. Here's a classic lick, and I'm sure you've heard it. And you hear this in a lot of classic Scruggs solos, and it can be a standalone fill-in lick. You know, it can be part of a solo. What is it about this lick that makes it bluesy? Well, if you notice, the second string at 10 is an A note, which is just a normal G scale note. And what's happening is when you do the bend, you're actually bending the note up to A sharp, which is the same thing as B flat. B flat is a blues scale note for G. So by inflecting this with a choke, you give that nice slurring sound, and you're actually taking advantage of a blues scale note that's one fret higher without having to move your finger. So just like we've done in some of the other videos, when you do these bends, it allows access to a note that's usually a fret higher without having to move your finger, and you get that nice slurring sound, which is another kind of thing you hear a lot in blues playing on guitar. So the roll pattern is just the volume out and breakdown roll. Of course, you can variate this and come up with all kinds of cool patterns that you like, but here's the typical, prototypical, I'll call it, Scruggs version of this lick. Is to go 2 1 2 1 5 2 1 5 2 1 2 1 5 2 1 5. So you can play around with the roll pattern and the way you choke, you know, the dynamics involved in the choke, the duration of the notes. You don't always have to do a roll pattern. So you can come up with a lot of cool variations, but that's something that's really commonly heard in traditional solos in Scruggs style banjo. And you'll also notice that by moving to the X and Y position, you get a lot of variation in tone. So add the blues scale ideas for the number 2 shape. See if you can work those notes into some roll patterns. Shift your fingers around, see what ideas fall out of your head. And if you do hear a player playing a bluesy lick out of the number 2 shape, if you look at their fingering, you can always relate it to that shape and say, it's just something that falls in the parameters of them trying to find the blues scale notes and stay pretty close in reference to that number 2 chord shape. And also, if you're not familiar with this lick, add that to your repertoire now, because it's a very foundational idea that has a blues bend in it. So I think I'll wrap up just the primary Scruggs blues position licks for now, and I appreciate you watching it. And next video, I think we're going to delve into a new topic. So hope you enjoy it. Thank you very much.